What's up, everybody? Welcome back to TheBiringPodcast. Today, we got polls versus social media.
Yeah, I want to know who the hell is actually answering these polls.
I don't even know what to believe anymore. And then we got an update on the trade war.
Seems like Carney and Trump are best buds now.
Apparently, and JD Vance was in Greenland and said that Canada has no way of winning this trade war. Next, we got a story where a middle schooler is fed up with her mom that keeps vlogging her life.
Does anyone even ask these kids if they're comfortable being filmed?
I think they're just cash cows now. And then we got some more Stephen A versus LeBron.
Step aside. We got the new celebrity boxing match.
Right? Jake Paul, Mike Tyson. You thought that was good? I don't know what this one's going to do. After all that, what do we have for off topic?
So we have a Canadian true crime story. We got the Myanmar Earthquakes and a couple other things.
And stay tuned for the question segment at the end.
We'll give you our thoughts and opinions on all of that. Also, go like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And go follow us on Instagram and TikTok at TheBiringPodcast. So, let's start with these polls.
Yeah.
Pull up the CBC polls. So, there we go. So, it seems like, according to CBC, Liberals are like, what, 41.2?
No, 4 points?
Yeah. They're ahead by basically 4 points, right?
Yeah.
And then if you look at the projected seats, it's projecting 190 seats for Liberals and 125 for Conservatives, right? And 23 for Bloc and basically nothing for anyone else.
So they're projecting a Liberal majority?
That's what they're, yeah,
CBC,
172 would be majority and they're projecting a Liberal majority, right? But then if you go to likely, it's saying that Liberals can have anywhere between 170 and 207.
Okay.
And Conservatives can have anywhere between 112 and 142.
So even the range has them in a majority. The range they think the Liberals will fall on.
That's what they're saying.
They were originally saying minority government, right?
No, ever since Carney took over, they've been saying majority.
This new polling.
And
so what are their projections based on again?
They do polls in like every single province.
Like just people vote?
Yeah, they call in
like surveys and stuff.
Yeah, surveys and stuff, and then they're based on.
Have you guys ever gotten any of these surveys? Because I haven't.
Yeah, I haven't.
Nobody I know has.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then if you look at the min-max there, it does show that even according to their polls, that like worst case scenario, they're saying Liberals are going to get 144 seats and Conservatives would get 164.
Yeah.
So according to them, if Liberals had worst case scenario and Conservatives had best case, they could probably make a coalition with the Bloc.
Yeah.
Which will get 32.
Yeah.
Right, and then Conservatives would.
So there's no way a Conservative majority is going to happen according to their polling.
According to them.
Yeah.
The majority wouldn't happen, but they're not saying that it would be out of the question.
Yeah.
Even though they're saying that Liberals are ahead.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not like it's
219s
right
max.
And then if you scroll down and you look at the polling averages, you can see BC is basically neck and neck, 40 and 39. And then Alberta's heavy conservative, 55-28, obviously.
That's not surprising.
The rest of the prairies, you got 33 and 48. And then Ontario is 45 and 39. And Quebec is 39 and 22 for Conservatives. And then Atlantic Canada is obviously heavily favored, 53 and 32.
Yeah.
So then looking at this.
The number of seats, like you want Ontario.
Yeah, Ontario has so many seats. That's why the Liberal vote matters there a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then if you look at seat projections there, you're going to see that to me, when I look at this, it seems like it's between... Like, obviously, BC is so close where I don't know what can happen there. But Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba is going to be heavily favored, I feel like, for Conservatives. And Atlantic Canada is obviously going to be heavily favored for Liberals. So this thing's going to come down to Ontario and Quebec.
Ontario and Quebec, yeah.
That's what I think. Right? And then if you look at Quebec, I think they're underestimating... The fact that this guy's not fluent in French, right? He's not even debating in French, right? And then on top of it all, you have the bloc has gained a lot of momentum.
Yeah.
Right? What I feel like is going to happen there, I think the amount of seats that conservatives are going to get combined with the bloc is going to be more than what liberals are going to get in Quebec.
Yeah.
That's what I think is going to end up happening there.
For sure.
And then in Ontario, I don't know. There's anywhere you look, like if you're looking at these polls, it seems like Ontario is like heavily leaning in one direction.
Yeah.
But online, you have something completely different going on, right? And then I think we have the Abacus polls. And then what was interesting here isn't really the poll itself, but this what is it? The past voters, right? And it shows that there's a growing number of previous Conservative Party voters who now say they're going to vote Liberal. So 12% of them are saying that.
Okay.
But on the flip side, there's 13% of past Liberals saying that they're going to vote Conservative.
Okay.
Right? And then these guys even show their polls are at 34% Conservative and 40% Liberal. But then, like to what Simmer was saying earlier, like they are also, this is a whole sample size of 2,000 people only.
That's what it is. These polls, 2,000 people.
Yeah,
That
like
doesn't
how accurate do they end up being?
They're
like
not.
even in the past, like have they been pretty accurate?
What does work is you keep seeing it. So
Yeah.
generally people like you want to be on the winning team. So if you start seeing,
it's true.
yeah,
That's the thing about
it
the polls,
influences your vote.
Yeah, and then you're just like, oh, majority is doing that, so I'll just do that.
Yeah,
too.
if they're gonna win anyway, I want to
Yeah.
vote for the winning team. It's like human nature.
I don't. Yeah, and then people think if they've already lost, what's the point of going out and voting?
Exactly.
Right? So if you're gonna look at that, and if you are a conservative and you're like, oh, it looks like they already lost, there's no point of voting.
Exactly.
Right. Whereas like if it's close, you're gonna be like, every vote counts. I need to go and vote. Right. And then I feel like even Polymarket, what were they saying?
Yeah, the poly market odds are the biggest spread. So as of I think March 26th, they have 70% in favor of Carney. They got 30% for Pierre Poilievre, and the rest are negligible. Freeland's in there for some reason. But 70-30, that's the biggest gap.
Girls in there too.
Just in case less than 1%.
Yeah.
Somebody voted for these guys.
So they got a 70-30 split there.
Yeah.
And I think just
That one's massive though, but yeah.
so the betting odds on most of the sports books, we got that too. We've got, so there's 4 in favor of Carney. They got him winning. That's Bet99, FanDuel, Pinnacle, and PointsBet. And then you got Bet365 and The Score in favor of the Conservatives. And then you got BetMGM, BetVictor, Party Sports, and Sports Interaction that basically it's a toss-up money line.
Oh, okay.
So the sports books, the gambling websites are a lot closer than any of these polls are showing.
Yeah, it seems like you can, depending on what site you decide to go with, you can pretty much put money on one party and get a better result if you go on like if you go on,
You can hedge your bet.
if you go on Score, you're gonna get better odds if you
for
vote Liberal,
conservatives.
right? Like because they're favoring conservatives.
Yeah.
On the
Okay,
flip,
yeah.
if you go on one of those, what was the other ones that were for? If you go on like FanDuel, right?
Or Bet99,
and you vote conservative, it's a better bet.
Yeah.
Right. So it depends. So theoretically, you could hedge your bet.
Yeah.
Right. And then if you look online on social media, which is what people have been talking about the polls a lot, and then because Ontario is so important, if you look at Six Buzz, they ran 2 polls. Right?
Yeah.
One of them had 27,000 votes. And in that one, 74% for conservatives and 21% for liberals. And then if you look at the other one, it's 8,500 votes approximately, 75% conservative, 23% liberals.
Yeah.
Right?
And they've got like what, 2.5 million followers?
Yeah, like 2.4 million followers.
Yeah, look at that. Look at the number of responses alone, right? It's a
But
lot.
I'm sure they also have a lot of non-Canadian followers. So like, what
There's also that. There's also bots and stuff, right? It's the
Yeah.
same way. It's kind of like I feel like the picture that like the whole point of all of this is like just like how the polls are skewed. So is something like this, right?
Yeah.
Like, they're not the only social media thing that's doing this. If you go all online, like I want to say, in the beginning, it felt like the left was kind of dominating the discourse online. Right now, it seems like it's like 3-1, 4-1 conservative.
Yeah.
Like anywhere there's anything being posted, it seems like conservative influencers, people that are commenting, they're all on Polyeb, right?
Yeah.
And it seems like they've shifted away from liberals, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know what that is. Maybe there's some pushback, but I'm not seeing a heavy liberal dominance anymore.
But like, who you got to think about who's online, right? A lot of the youth, a lot younger people are online answering these polls. Who answers the other polls that we see? I think it's a lot older people that are answering them. Generally, if you look at voter turnout, like from the last election, so 79% of the highest voter turnout was 65 to 74 years old.
All the boomers.
Yeah. So you got the boomers voting in these polls, and then you got like younger voters or first time voters voting in like online
and they don't even vote.
Exactly. That's the problem. I feel like that's what the thing's gonna come
you
down
just
to.
vote online and people still don't vote?
No,
like if you're on social media, you just do
if it was that, I think more people would be inclined.
Yeah,
but that's so much easier to rig.
Yeah, it's way easier to rig. You can't just vote.
People think it's rigged anyway.
Yeah.
So
I mean, here at least you need IDs, right? In the States, you don't even need ID to vote. But yeah, go back to the seat projections. So I feel like if you look at the three of these, right?
Yeah.
Atlantic Canada, I feel like if conservatives are going to make up any ground because they're so heavily dominated there, liberals are.
Yeah.
Like they dominate Atlantic Canada. I think one of the biggest concerns there is going to be this trade war.
Yeah.
Right? Because you have St. John's, I think I was reading in the Canadian Chamber of Commerce that they are the most exposed city to tariffs. And they are because of they export oil, lumber, and seafood.
For sure.
Right? So to them, I feel like
heavily reliant on the States.
Yeah. So anytime Trump says anything, they jump, right? They're like, oh my God, what's going to happen next, right? Like it's hard, obviously, Calgary, Windsor, those kind of cities.
Yeah.
But I feel like for Atlantic Canada, that's a big, big issue, right?
Sure.
So if Poilievre is going to hold any rallies there and he can convince them that he's going to deal with these tariffs unless they go away before the election.
Yeah.
I feel like he might be able to steal a seat or two there.
Yeah, possibly.
And then outside of the polls, I feel like the rallies tell a completely different story.
Yeah.
Right? And here's a clip of Mark Carney's rallies.
Whoa.
The guy got kicked out, right?
Yeah.
I don't get it. What's happening?
He was just like, so how many underage? He was talking about Epstein, and you know how like there's pictures of Carney with Epstein's girlfriend.
Yeah.
So he's like, so what's your affiliation with that? It was an inappropriate question.
Yeah, so that's his rally. You can see about how many people are there, right?
Right. And then
Looks like a few hundred.
Here's a clip of Poilievre's rallies.
Oh.
That's the one in Stony Creek, I think. There's a little more people there, I think.
Oh,
Looks like
That look like a hazard? Like that
I don't
people
know.
in a gym?
There was two of them. I think this one might be in Coquitlam, BC. They're like lined up outside in the rain.
I saw that.
Yeah. That's the thing. You see all this polling online, right?
Yeah.
And then you see this.
yeah.
And it's like people are like confused.
Yeah, like
second
you see
story.
the support, right? Even his
Here's the thing.
this one's in Hamilton.
This is the Stony Creek one, yeah.
Look at that.
This one was huge. I think it was near 5,000 people.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So you're seeing a ton of support for this guy, right?
Yeah.
You playing it? And then I feel like his wife too is turning into a little bit of a superstar, bro. She
she
brings him out.
She brings him out to all the events. Yeah.
Like I don't remember the last time you had a prime minister's wife who was that outspoken, unless like I'm just forgetting. But she's like handling.
Yeah, look at that.
Out there.
That picture's crazy. That many people.
Yeah,
that shot is insane.
But I mean, if you're gonna campaign, you're gonna be a family guy. You're gonna get more votes that way.
Well, yeah,
without his platform,
you should be. But then you look at Trudeau, right? Like he's separated from his wife, right? And if you look traditionally, the first lady is a big role in the U.S., right?
Yeah,
but in Canada, it's not as big of a role, right? Like they're not really talked about. It's not like I don't even think I've seen a picture of Carney's wife. Like, she's not really like I haven't, but that's also probably because I don't pay attention to a lot of his press conferences and things like that.
Yeah.
But he's probably is putting together more of like a family. He brings out his kids and they're always there and he's talking about them. He'll talk to them. Yeah. Then you see these crowds and stuff. And to me, it seems
crowds for sure.
From the online discourse and the crowds and the rallies, it seems like Poilievre's obviously winning this, right?
Yeah.
From the polls, it seems like Carney's going to win this easy.
Yeah. So
right?
They're so different too. Some like Polymarket was 70-30 and then some of them will be like 6 points, some will be 2, some will be neck and neck, and like 2,000 responses they're going off of.
Usually Vegas will give you a good enough idea where you're like, okay, right? Even they're like, we don't know what's going on.
They don't know
like
either.
All the sports books are on
but it's a lot closer.
Yeah, they're closer, but look at Polymarket. That's probably the biggest spread amongst all of them.
Yeah, that one's wild.
It's bigger than any of the polls even.
Yeah.
So I mean, to me, even those polls, right? A lot of those sample sizes, like 1,500 people, 2,000 people, right? And they have a bunch of small little polls, and then they combine all of them. That's how CBC does it.
Yeah.
But to me, I feel like you don't really know where this thing's going to go.
Yeah.
I feel like if people that are online and having this discourse online, if everybody goes out and votes and the youth goes out and votes, I think they're going to be surprised at the amount of seats the Conservatives are going to get in Ontario. I don't think they're ready for it. Because I think Liberals, from everything that we're seeing, I think more Liberal voters vote for the polls anyways. And if BC's that close, I don't know, man. I think Conservatives are going to take BC.
Yeah.
Right. And if you're talking about Ontario, and if over here, any of the discourse you see, a lot of it is about on the Conservative side.
For sure. Right. I feel like it's going to come down to, it's kind of like the youth or millennials versus the boomers, right? The thing is, people don't always vote. Voter turnout is going to be a big deal, right?
Yeah.
People that keep saying they want to change or they want to vote Conservative or what have you, you got to get out and vote. It doesn't really matter who you want to vote for. That's what it's going to come. That's what it feels like. A majority of the Liberal vote is a lot older.
But do you think now, because it's such an important election, like the voter turnout will be higher?
Hopefully. It feels like it. It feels like the pulse of the country. People want change, or they, at the least, they feel like voting. People are motivated.
During election cycles, weeks start to feel like months.
Yeah.
Right? And that's just how it is. In the States, it's even more amplified. But even here, it feels like it's like things are moving really fast, right? So if closer to the election cycle, the momentum kind of slows down, then I don't know, voter turnout could get less.
Yeah.
Right? And so like I feel like even legacy media, right, suppressing those Poilievre a little bit, like you're gonna get not him being pushed enough. So if he's pushing for voter turnout, right, like I don't know if you're not gonna see him on all these local news channels, it could affect him a little bit, right?
I mean, it helps that it's like so short, the election cycle. It's like the shortest they've ever done.
It is
30 something days,
but 28 days still is a long time for people to forget and
to get
stop
bored.
caring. If something else happens,
news travels.
It goes quick during election cycles, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see what happens with all that. Let's move on to the trade war. Please like and subscribe, as it really does help the podcast out tremendously. Now let's get back to the pod. So Trump said he was going to impose some auto tariffs, and this was Carney's response.
relationship we had with the United States based on deepening integration of our economies and tight security and military cooperation is over. President Trump again imposed unjustified tariffs on our nation in violation of our existing trade agreements. We will respond forcefully. Nothing is off the table to defend our workers and our country. And our response to these latest tariffs is to fight, is to protect, and to build. We will fight the U.S. tariffs with retaliatory trade actions of our own that will have maximum impact in the United States and minimum impacts here in Canada.
And then Trump and Carney had a phone conversation.
Yeah.
And apparently it was very productive.
Yeah.
And it went very well.
Yeah.
Right. And here was Trump's reaction after the conversation.
We had a very good conversation. Mark called me today at 10 o'clock. We put out a statement. We had a very, very good talk. He's going through an election now, and we'll see what happens. But we have Liberation Day, as you know, on April 2nd, because, and I'm not referring to Canada, but many countries have taken advantage of us, the likes of which nobody even thought was possible for many, many decades, And, you know, that has to stop. We're going to end up with a very good relationship with Canada and a lot of the other countries. Some we probably won't. It won't be so pleasant. But I think most countries are agreeing with me. They actually, many of them have actually apologized. They said, look, we have taken advantage. And I don't blame them as much as I blame the people that stood. In this case, I can say the men, because so far they've been all men, haven't they? But the men that sat right there and behind the Resolute desk, mostly the Resolute desk, you know. I don't know if you know, you have a choice of 7 desks. The Resolute is the one I like, but some chose other ones. But they sat right behind a desk right in this location. And they let our country be hurt very badly.
When he goes on one of his weeds.
But we had a very good talk, the Prime Minister and myself, and I think things are going to work out very well between Canada and the United States.
He spent 2 minutes saying very good talk.
Yeah, did they even say what they talked about?
Not really.
He said it was productive.
He said it.
That's the weird thing to me. I feel like Carney on that first clip, right? He's talking about like how he's gonna have retaliatory tariffs and like he's
done.
The relationship
Yeah.
is done,
Yeah.
right? The next day they get on a call. He says it's a very productive call. Carney doesn't really say much about it.
No.
Right? Why is that? Because that, oh no, it's reverse psychology. What they were saying before when Trump was like, I prefer the liberals. So they're staying away from it.
Yeah.
So a little bit of that, like it kind of, to me, it looks like, are you saying one thing on the campaign?
Yeah.
And then when you're
doing
talking
another?
to Trump, behind everyone's back, when you're having a conversation, you're, I don't know, saying whatever he wants to hear, right?
Yeah.
Like, we don't know what the hell's going on. What else is a productive conversation? A productive one isn't, well, we're going to retaliate.
Well, from Trump's perspective, right? A productive conversation, what would that be? You're willing to cave to his demands, right?
Yeah.
That's the only thing that's productive.
But
in
Trump
Trump's
even
eyes.
said right there, he's like, that doesn't include Canada. So what's he's going to exempt us from these tariffs now?
I don't know. He's always never clear about any of it.
Never.
No.
He's like, we've been nice before. We might be nice again. He just keeps saying things like
I mean, this whole thing, I've been saying it for weeks now. It's just a negotiations. This thing's not going to last for like 2-3 years, like how people think it is, right? So Carney saying that, you know, relationship is done, basically like how it used to be, is stupid. It's not done.
To be honest, like, I can't even take it seriously, even this tariffs thing. Like, I feel like it's the boy who cried wolf. Like, it's coming, it's not. They're going to talk the day before. They're going to get rid of it.
You know what the scary thing of it is? Like, if you do look at like cities like St. John's, right, who depend so heavily on these tariffs, right? And then you look at Calgary, right? And because the oil, they depend so heavily on the U.S., right? And then you look at cities like even Windsor, right, in Ontario. They depend so heavily because of auto sector, right? So then whenever somebody says like, yo, it's going to be 25% tariffs, and then we're adding another 10, then they're stealing aluminum, right? People's the hearts go up and down, right? Certain businesses might close down, right? And these economies are like St. John's, like they've been through rough patches economically before too, right? And people will leave cities like that, right? And go to cities where it's easier to make money because they're scared that their economy is not going to thrive in that city, right? So yes, it's a boy who cried wolf kind of thing, and to somebody who's sitting comfortable and hasn't been impacted by it. But for somebody that relies so heavily on the industries in the US, it's kind of scary, right?
It's very real, yeah.
That's why I hate this whole idea of like how they've even weaponized this whole thing, and this, like, because Trump starts saying all of this before the elections even happen, and now you weaponize this trade war, and it's become one of the key points in this election.
It's the first one when they were showing on the news. It's that, and then after is housing and affordability. Number one is trade war with the U.S.
Yeah, and if you're a Canadian, doesn't a part of you think, like, before any of this started to happen, right? What was the number one problem? Housing and affordability.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that was the number one thing on everyone's mind.
Yeah.
Right? Taxes are too high. We can't afford anything here.
Yeah.
Rent is too high, right?
Grocery.
Trade war kicks in. Trade war. Screw Trump. That's the biggest problem.
Those things are still happening.
Right? And after trade war gets dealt with, we're still going to have the mess.
Yeah.
Right? And somebody's going to have to clean that up. So, like, to me, I would look at that instead of the trade war. But like I was saying before, I can completely understand if somebody's terrified of what's happening with these tariffs, right?
For sure. Yeah.
But we also have a clip of Poilievre and his response to the tariffs.
Okay.
My message to President Trump is knock it off. Stop attacking America's friends. Start trading so that we can once again become richer, stronger, and more secure on both sides of the border. That is how we will have the money for stronger military and stronger borders to secure our continent against real threats and real enemies. We will never be the 51st state, but we can once again be friends with the United States if the president reverses course on these disastrous tariff threats. If you decide to go down this road, this is what's going to happen. Yes, you'll do damage to us in the short term, but we will fight back and we will build back. Within 4 years of a new, strong, conservative government, Canada will be completely rebuilt. We will rebuild our economy. We will not be reliant on the U.S. anymore, and the Americans will have lost the greatest trading partner and friend they ever had. A conservative government will build pipelines and LNG plants, aggressively promote mines and other resource infrastructure that has been blocked for the last 10 years. We'll have new overseas trading partners. We will knock down inter-provincial barriers so that we can trade with ourselves. We will send our goods to our friends on other sides of the oceans of the world. We will cut taxes and speed up permits so that we can sell our oil, gas, mining, lumber, agriculture, fisheries, manufacturing, small businesses and large businesses alike.
He actually has a plan, right? He's said in the past too, and he kind of said it there again. He's willing to increase the amount of trade with the U.S. And open up the pipeline, LNG plants, so we can actually make money off the oil that we have. Obviously, cut taxes, incentivize businesses.
I mean, out of everything that he said, I don't see one thing that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Right? Like, he's being realistic. He's saying that we need to increase trade with the U.S., get back to what it was before this bullshit started, right? But if we don't, then we're going to build pipelines,
we gotta do
right?
something
And we're gonna,
else,
right? Whereas Carney is saying, we're going to do the other thing first, right? It seems like that's where he's leaning because he flew out to Europe and did whatever, right? So he's leaning towards completely ignoring the U.S. and going that way. And then if Trump wants to negotiate, then we'll come back to the table, right? So it's kind of a little bit different approach, both of them. Poilievre is saying, make these things go away, negotiate it, get it over with. And if you don't, then we're going to do all this, or we're going to do it while the negotiations are going on. And Carney is saying, if you don't want to negotiate, we're just going to go to Europe right now.
We're just going to leave right away. And Trump has said, too, he's going to impose harsher tariffs if he does do that. Right?
Well, with that, like, I did see that, and it's a little bit like, okay, we get it, you're the U.S. world superpower, but, like, listen, you're not the president of the world. If Canada wants to go trade with Europe and they want to sink their economy because that's what they need to do, then they're going to do it. What are you going to do? Stop them, right? Economically? Like, if there's not going to be zero trade, it's harmful to both countries. Nobody's winning.
For sure.
Right? If you're just going to continue to do that. Right? So when he just says dumb shit like that again and again, he's just saying
that's
things,
what Carney said. The one thing I agreed with him on, he's like, he's not my president. I don't adhere to the things that he says. I hear them, but I don't have to follow them, right? Just like anybody would. No president's going to be just falling in line.
You know what I hate about this whole trade war, man? Like, it's like if it's going to end, right, then it benefits Canadians. Right? But they are, like, even Poilievre, he's tiptoeing around being like, well, I want to trade with the US, right?
Yeah.
And Carney is outright not really saying that, right? He doesn't want to make it seem like he is, right? Because one of the things that we didn't show in all of those polls was Trump's approval ratings, right?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like Trump, the impressions of Donald Trump in Canada is now 78% negative and 12% positive.
See, that's why they're tiptoeing.
Right? So it doesn't matter who you are or who you're voting for. 78% of Canadians, based on this 2,000 sample size, which is a very small sample size.
Yeah.
But they think that Donald Trump is a bad guy.
Yeah.
Right? So this trade war has painted him already. He was already seen that way a little bit by Canadians, but then this trade war has amplified that. Right?
Yeah.
So now that's why they're pandering to that kind of voter.
Yeah, and that's why you have to tiptoe. They can't fully commit to anything or show their cards completely.
No.
Because if that's the number one concern on Canadians' mind is this trade war, they hate Donald Trump. You can't just go, I really want to go trade with this guy, right?
Yeah. And then
Why do you think they're not discussing what was said in the phone call?
What do you mean?
Like they're just saying it was good, it was productive.
Because
Wait, what about the specifics of it?
Well, I don't think it's in the Liberals' best interest to.
They're not discussing it because if it's a productive phone call, what's that going to mean? It's not like they're negotiating the USMCA or doing anything.
Yeah.
Right? He's just saying after the elections, we'll discuss it again.
Deal with this,
right?
Yeah.
So then they probably had a phone call like, hey, listen, we're going to bring things. I don't know. I'm just speculating here.
Yeah.
Where certain things were discussed a little bit, like we're willing to come to the table, but after elections, not now.
Yeah.
Right. But Carney's not saying what that discussion was.
Yeah.
He's not labeling like we discussed these, certain sectors and this.
Yeah,
We're not
yeah.
going to do any of that. Right. But also the thing that does suck here is if you're conservative, like the way, and I said it last week too, the way that this thing played out, right? You have Mark Carney has the opportunity to talk to Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Right. And be like, this is what we're going to do.
Pierre doesn't.
Right. Poilievre doesn't.
Yeah.
Right. So Poilievre can't be the savior here. Poilievre can just talk to a camera.
Yeah.
And that's it. Right. On his rallies and be
Yeah.
like, this is what I would do. Right.
Yeah.
Carney unfairly, because he's prime minister right now, right? He can go around doing these kind of things.
I
Yeah.
had this private conversation with
Yeah.
Trump we know nothing about.
Right.
Yeah.
So then from that standpoint, like I feel like if it was an existing prime minister, like it was Trudeau, then you would have known how he was handling it the whole time and you
Yeah.
would have continued to handle it the same way. Right. So then you would it's not going to affect as much. Right.
Yeah.
But like when you have this shit, right,
Yeah.
where like this guy gets to be like, I'm going to be different than Trudeau.
Yeah.
Right. And then he gets to kind of show that he's going to handle it in a good way.
Yeah. I mean,
kind of
it's all
annoying.
strategic. It's been strategic the whole time, the way the Liberals went about.
But I do
Putting this guy in
think, like,
power.
you know how it's like Donald Trump's endorsed the Liberals, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of Canadians don't like Donald Trump.
Yeah.
So it's almost like not going to work in his favor, I think.
You would think, but.
Yeah, but who knows? The polls say otherwise.
Yeah.
But
He kind of insinuated that he's going to win too. He's like, we'll talk after the election.
exactly. Oh yeah, we'll meet after,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
I mean, people act like, because you would think that after 9 years of Trudeau, people are like, we're ready to move on from this. Right. But like, people don't
Or just a
realize.
little change, you know?
But in Canada specifically, it's not like the States, right? In States, sometimes you won't get two-term presidents that are back-to-back, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes there will be a break like
Yeah,
Trump,
yeah.
right? It was Trump, Biden, Trump,
Yeah.
right? Before that, you had Obama,
Yeah.
2
right?
terms.
In Canada, you had what? John Chrétien, right? And then when he realized his finance minister, Paul Martin, was making a run at leadership, he
Yeah.
just resigned before that,
Yeah.
right? And then Paul Martin comes in, and Paul Martin, I believe, everything that happened with the sponsorship scandal
Yeah.
in Quebec, right? He is going to lose the next election, right? Which paved the way for Stephen Harper, right? And then Harper had 9 years.
9
Right?
years.
After 9 years of Harper, I think towards the end of his thing, there was something going on with somebody not being able to wear hijabs or something.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, there
Citizenship.
was
There's a
stuff like
couple
that.
little
Yeah.
things going on. People started getting annoyed, saying that he's being too right wing or
Yeah.
whatever. And then from that, you got Trudeau, right?
Yeah.
And from what I don't know what you guys remember about Trudeau. From what I remember, this guy was basically promising, I could be wrong here, but like a better commute to downtown Toronto.
Yeah.
He's like, I'll fix the roads, right? And he's saying lower taxes,
Yeah.
which is hard to believe. right? So Canadians saw that. And
I remember initially thinking, oh, it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
But it is going back and forth, like with Chrétien. Then
No, but then when you look at it, right, you had, I think Chrétien had what, 4 terms? Paul Martin, because of his scandal and because he never had Canadians anyways, he had 3 years,
liberals.
right? Or that 1 term, right?
Right.
And that's all liberals, right? From there, you move to conservatives 9 years, right back to liberals 9 years, right? So pretty much the last 40 years has been Chrétien, Paul Martin.
Well, before Chrétien was
Harper,
Mulroney, was
Trudeau.
also a conservative government.
Yeah, he was. But then before that, it was Trudeau's father, right? Which was split term, right?
Yeah.
Like he didn't just consecutively run the whole time,
Yeah.
right? He won, he lost, and then he won again, right? And then Chrétien came in, right? So Mulroney and then Chrétien, right?
There
So
was
then
a woman in between, but she only lasted like 3 months.
Kim Campbell.
Yeah. I mean, yeah,
That's for all the feminists.
Our one and only.
But like, yeah, so then if you look at Canadian politics in a nutshell, right? Like you do see like our terms last a little bit longer here, right?
Yeah.
So the way that I see it here is Mark Carney going to be the next Paul Martin? People keep saying he's the greatest finance guy. It's Paul Martin, right?
Yeah.
And like, I think some of those kids are like in their younger 20s. They don't understand that Paul Martin wasn't exactly a revered prime minister. Right? There's a lot of people, even on the liberal side, that didn't think he was a strong prime minister.
For sure.
And then the way the scandal played out in Quebec. But I feel like if you're going to look at this, then Mark Carney might be that guy who gets 1 term and then everyone's like, oh, okay, no, we're like really sick of this, right? And then you move on, right? Or you're going to see a conservative government now, which seems like it's headed in that direction, right?
I don't know. The rallies of the polls. What are you going to trust?
I don't know. But Trump isn't the only one talking about Canada. J.D. Vance was in Greenland. And when asked about Canada, he had this to say.
Well, let me say a couple of things. First of all, for the Canadians, and we have many dear friends in Canada, and of course we love the Canadian people, but the Canadian leadership threatening retaliatory tariffs against the United States, as President Trump often says, they just don't have the cards. There is no way that Canada can win a trade war with the United States. What President Trump has said is that he wants to level the playing field. For decades, Canadian leadership has forced American farmers and American manufacturers to play by an unfair set of rules. All President Trump has said is that we're done playing by an unfair set of rules. If you're going to do something to our industries, then we're going to do something back to your industries. That's how you protect American manufacturing, and that's how you protect American jobs. Now, what I'd say to the American people is look, the president ran on this, and he said very clearly that we're done being the piggy bank of the entire world. For 40 years, in the same way that our European friends, I think, have neglected international security, for 40 years, a lot of our friends all over the world have used America as a piggy bank. They have used us to absorb all of their excess economic production. And what does that mean for Americans? For Americans, that's meant manufacturing jobs declining. That's meant middle-class wages going down. That's meant whole towns that have been hollowed out by empty factories. And that means an America that is less safe because our manufacturing isn't as powerful now as it was 30 years ago.
Okay, so when you hear that, right, the last little bit, not even about Canada, right? He's saying middle towns like completely hollowed out or whatever he's saying, right?
Yeah.
Like, isn't that a little bit like way back in the early 2000s, right? You start outsourcing a lot of manufacturing, right? It starts with China, right? China gets expensive. You move it to Mexico, right? That's because you want to make cheaper laptops, cheaper iPhones, right? You want to make cheaper clothes, cheaper sneakers. Everyone loves Nike, like sweatshops. That stuff started because you wanted to make cheaper products, right? And then now you're saying that you want to make more expensive products because you want to move it back to the US. Like, I see the notion, but it started from there. It started from corporate greed. If you're going to talk about capitalism, right? Like, if you want to sell cheaper iPhones to people, right, it's not going to be made in America.
It happened organically too, right? The business is going to do whatever the hell makes them the most money.
Like, this isn't something that's you can say Canada's fault, right? That's just capitalism, right? Like, if there's like, and what he's referring to, manufacturing jobs, right? Isn't that like a lot of that went to China? A lot of that went to Mexico when it comes to cars, right? So if he's saying that you want to build all of this stuff in-house, and he's saying President Trump wants to bring jobs back here, this and that because of the middle class, it could work out, but it could also work in the other direction if you're making more money, right?
Yeah.
But everything also costs more.
Is it worth it?
Is it worth it?
Yeah.
Right. And if to even get that little bit of an incentive that you're going to get,
Yeah.
if it's at the cost of this extremely high cost of living while there are no jobs while you're trying to create and negotiate this, is it worth it? Or is it actually not going to be worth it?
Yeah. I mean, he says that Canada is not going to win the war. But does anybody really, let alone a trade war or any war, does any party really win? There's casualties on both sides, right? Any war that you have.
This thing, the longer it goes on, all it's going to do is they're saying that they want to help the middle class. All it's going to do is hit the middle class the hardest.
Yeah.
Right. Because once you start handing out stimulus and once you start taking care of the general population, what ends up happening is the people who are in the middle class, who are a little bit more leveraged because they own assets like real estate and stuff, they start getting hit, right? And they have to sell off those assets, and then they regress to a worse position in their life financially speaking, right? And then you're like, it was all to help you guys, right? Like, it doesn't help anyone if you now have more jobs, right?
For sure. Specifically, like this new auto tariff coming in, 25%. These are, to piggyback off what you were saying, right? They're so integrated, these supply chains, and they go back and forth all because businesses do what makes them the most money. So these guys got used to sending parts across the border back and forth multiple times a day even. Yeah. So you're going to levy all these tariffs on top of them. Yeah. And there's already tariffs on steel and aluminum, right?
So then you look at that, right? And that, a lot of that is just like what you were saying, supply chain integration, right? That's why they're doing it, right? That doesn't mean that, like, if you have like a Chevy Silverado, for example, they're also built in Canada. Right? Just because they're American companies, the same way Hyundai said they were going to invest in the US right now and build some cars there. I think the Kia Telluride's built in Colorado. The ones that ship to Canada are coincidentally built in South Korea, right? The Hyundais, but the Kias that ship that are for the States, majority of them were already built in Colorado, right? Yeah. But I'm looking at a list here, right? So, like, by their logic, right? Like, if you want to look at cars that are built in Canada, the Honda Civic and CR-V is built in Canada. The Toyota RAV4 is built in Canada. The Lexus NX and RX350, Canada. Chrysler Pacifica, Dodge Charger, Ford Mustang GT. So all of those are built in Canada. Yeah. Right? And I think somewhere I even did see a Chevy Silverado. Yeah, I did. Okay, so Chevy Silverado as well. Okay. Right? And that's that one's made in Oshawa. Yeah. Right. So then you look at that, right? Like, I think a lot of Canadians, like, when they see it and they're like, oh my God, what kind of Canadian cars are we going to buy or whatever? Yeah. If you're buying a Chevy Silverado, it's probably supporting Canadian jobs, right? Yeah. But then what are you going to do? You're going to force these American companies, right? Because Canada's not going to just sit back and be like, okay, fine. You're going to force them over the next 4 years to also build plants in Canada. Right. Yeah. And then they'll build their plants in the US. Yeah. Right. All that's going to happen is you're going to stop shipping these parts back and forth. Instead, the cars are just going to be built in the specific country that they're supposed to be shipped to. And they might just offset that cost by making that car cost more for the end consumer. Right. There's that. Right. But the way that the supply chain is run is like you build a car, right? And it comes off the assembly line, then you send it to the States and it goes from Detroit to Windsor, Detroit to Windsor, Detroit, like 7 times, right? Yeah. And they're adding different parts to it, right? But if you're going to then be like, that's not allowed, right? Because that's too expensive. That doesn't mean that they're going to stop making Silverados and there's not going to be any Chevy Silverados in Canada just because it's an American car company. All that means is that Chevy is now going to make a manufacturing plant in Canada, another one, and they're going to start building them exclusively in Canada. Yeah. Right. That's what automakers are going to have to do. Yeah. Right. Unless these guys were just like, you know what, Trump, you have a point. Why don't you just make more money? Screw Canadian jobs. Like, that's not going to happen.
Theoretically, that kind of makes some sense too, right? You increase jobs on both sides. But this guy's saying it's going to hurt for a little bit. It's going to hurt for a little while. And it's going to take a couple years to get these plants made. This stuff's not going to happen overnight.
I think he's just saying it's going to hurt while Trump is in power.
Yeah.
And then he'll
when I'm gone, it's all good.
I mean, if this is that polarizing, this could make it so Republicans don't win the next election.
Possibly.
Like, if people are that annoyed at it, they could flip the vote.
Yeah.
It's not like Democrats can't get it. I mean, right now, I don't see a superstar. Like, all they have is Gavin Newsom. He started a new podcast, by the way. Did you see that thing?
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like for the most part, if you're going to do things that are this polarizing, it could backfire, right? If they're not dealt with soon enough, right?
Some Americans even are not okay with what's going on. Like Detroit specifically, they were doing like a whole thing across the border there. They're doing like a rally.
Protest?
A protest, sorry. Yeah. On both sides. They're like, we support Canada.
Oh, right. I saw that. Yeah.
Even, I don't know if you saw Melanie Jolie. She was talking about, the billboard in Georgia.
Yeah.
Right?
Why is it in Georgia?
So that kind of stuff.
Do you know about that?
No,
right? So the Canadian government took out a billboard in Georgia and Atlanta, right? That says something about tariffs are going to hurt Americans.
Tariffs hurt Americans.
Right? What, like, maybe I'm missing something here, right? But after the U.S. general election, right, the Republicans, not only did Trump win, right? They took majority in the Senate and in the House. Yeah. Right? So
the
putting
one
out
that says tariffs are a tax?
Something like that.
Something
on
like
hardworking
that.
Americans?
Yeah.
Something like that. Okay. So they took majority in the Senate and in the House, right? So when you throw up a billboard, what do you want? Americans to just get mad? Because the politicians can't really do. What are they going to do?
In Atlanta, too. I never got that part of it.
Right?
Detroit would make more sense.
I don't know what they're trying to attack.
Are billboards effective? I don't really.
Somewhat. There's more of them in the States, definitely.
It's a high traffic area. Maybe that's why they did Atlanta. I don't know.
But it's also creating this divide between anti-American sentiment here, obviously.
Yeah.
But they're starting to hate Canadians down there.
They're starting to now.
Yeah.
They didn't care before, but
Like,
now there's a little bit of a buy American.
You see those people, like, I'm sure you've heard the story where somebody's running across the border and they asked about, like, what do you think about Trump?
Yeah.
And the lady was like...
she was like, well, I'm glad he's not my prime minister.
Yeah, and they got banned
for 5 years.
For 5 years.
What?
Damn.
Yeah. So this,
no, I didn't know that.
Allegedly. We don't know.
Okay.
But like that is what happened. And then this kind of like took social media by storm, and then everyone's running with it and being like, look, this is what's happening to Canadians there. When in reality, like I was just thinking about it, right? Even if it wasn't Trump, right? If you're going to any country and they ask you, what do you think about our president?
Yeah. Like, F that guy.
Yeah. Do you think it's wise to
Probably
be like,
not.
that's
right?
Maybe just be like,
there's a time and place.
yeah, maybe just be like, okay, that's not my president, right? But I respect the office and just keep it moving.
Yeah,
right?
Maybe just be like, I don't know, he's cool.
Yeah, it's not a guy at a bar asking you that, right?
Yeah.
It's a border guard.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
An officer who's there to defend the border. It's kind of dumb to
He's
be
gonna
like,
either allow or deny you. Like,
Yeah.
what are you doing?
you like, even a little part of you isn't like, this isn't my friend. I'm not just gonna say what's on my
Exactly.
mind, right? Like he's
Yeah.
asking me this for a reason,
Yeah.
right?
It's not my boy.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, I guess we'll see how this whole thing plays out. Let's move on to the next story of... Look, these are merely our opinions based on our life experiences, knowledge, and research. Maybe you agree or disagree or simply want to be a part of the conversation. Leave a comment and let us know your thoughts. Now let's get back to the pod. And this middle schooler that wants her mom to stop vlogging her life. So there was a story in People magazine. A young girl says her mom is exposing her online and she wants it to stop. Quote, my mom would record or try to record at every single time she possibly could. This meant school events, after school classes, extracurriculars, the car, vacations, me studying or doing work, cooking, literally just being at home, you name it. She also recorded me going to urgent care for strep throat for some absolutely absurd reason. And then the worst thing is no one in her comments or any of her subscribers had a problem with the pubescent middle schooler being exposed to the dangers of internet and absolutely no privacy in her daily life. In fact, the videos with my uncensored face and voice in it got more views than the ones that didn't.
Okay.
So this...
No one has a problem because it's pretty regular. Like, people do that.
Yeah, like you hear about that Ruby Frankie girl?
Yeah, was that the documentary?
Family, yeah,
Yeah.
Did you guys watch it?
No.
No.
Yeah, so she was doing the exact same thing, But at the beginning, her kids liked it. Like her kids were like, "Oh, we're stars. Like we're popular at school." But I mean, they grow up and they're like, "But she was really weird about it. She would purposely have the sun on it more, like without a shirt on sometimes because people thought he was good looking. She just pimped out her kid like that. It got worse and worse.
She's like a teenager. Like,
yeah.
Oh my God.
Then she like went crazy, did a bunch of child abuse. Now is in jail.
Wow.
But, yeah.
People need to stop using their kids for clout, man.
I was always against this. Like they seem harmless, these child unboxing videos and stuff. Like to me, like
that one kid does numbers.
Makes mad money.
Yeah. Which just seems like it's worth it.
Yeah.
Right. But I feel like it's kind of a weird place.
For
right.
sure.
You're using your kid to make money.
Yeah.
Right. Like I don't feel okay doing it.
It's crazy. Even like that Baby Shark song. It's these two kids that I don't even think.
Yeah. I don't even think they speak English.
Yeah.
Who knows, right? And it has so many views.
Yeah.
I mean, are you that unoriginal? You can't come up with your own content? Like, how hard is it to put a cute little kid? Everyone thinks kids are cute. You probably get views. It's not that. Like,
Well,
Like even that, like I don't know personally, like why would you want to do that? But I get that people do that.
Like even
in the
on
beginning,
this,
the kid's gonna like it.
even
It's
on
fun.
this podcast, right? When we accidentally mention our daughter's name,
Yeah.
we mute it.
Yeah.
Right? Not because we're scared of anything. It's because like we don't want to say her name. We don't want to publicize her
Yeah.
right now.
For
She's
sure.
young, right? Like
Yeah.
that's not. We don't want to do any of that, right?
Yeah.
And then even if you look at this lady, she has 300 subscribers on YouTube. Right? Like what kind of possible? Like we have more.
Yeah.
Like, what kind of
it's not
money
even
can
like big time.
no. And then the middle schoolers are like commenting on it.
Oh.
People
They're
in
teasing her,
school,
right?
They're teasing her.
Bullying
Like, you're
her
kind
and
of famous or whatever,
So it's
right? Like,
probably all people that know them
Right.
in
Yeah.
real life that are watching this.
Yeah.
content.
like
That's
what kind of vlog are you gonna make of your kid going to school?
Well, if your kid's telling you, "I don't want to,"
That's what it is.
That's
Yeah.
the line.
It's
Yeah.
that simple.
Like,
the kid
are
says
you
no.
a parent first or are you a vlogger first?
Yeah.
So people on Reddit started giving this girl advice.
Yeah.
And they're like, just say, "I do not consent to being filmed every time she's filming you."
Was there an outcome from it? Like, did she?
No, so she posted on Reddit and people started giving her advice.
She was on
what
a
to do.
forum, right?
Right, yeah.
Okay.
Basically, she wants to delete the channel. She's like, people like report it to get banned or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. I'm sure now there's in People's Magazine, maybe somebody will pay attention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, like maybe YouTube should even take the channel down.
Yeah.
Right. But there are certain laws that started getting passed in the States in terms of parents
like children
required to
content
pay the
creator.
children, right?
Yeah.
So like in Illinois in August 2023, parents are required to compensate child influencers, becoming the first state to do so. And in
Okay.
Utah did
September-
it too.
Yeah, in September 2024, California passed a law protecting the finances of child influencers because of Demi Lovato, right?
Yeah.
Her situation with Disney and stuff.
Yeah.
That's good though, man.
Yeah, a lot of child actors got taken advantage of. So now in California, you have to save like 15%.
Yeah, something
child.
like that. Yeah.
But a lot of like these content creators and family vloggers,
Yeah.
they moved out of that state because
Wow.
of that law. Like there's a
Just
lot
to
of people,
avoid
like,
it?
Yeah, like, they moved to Texas or something so they can like.
So the left wing ideology doesn't force you to move, but when they were like, "My kid I can't make money off my kid,"
Oh, no.
I'm out.
I gotta work for myself.
Yeah.
What's that one kid? The toy? Was that Ryan or something?
Yeah, Ryan.
Yeah.
I hope he's getting that money, man. That guy does numbers.
Really?
I'm sure
Yeah.
he will.
Well, his parents are definitely getting it too.
Yeah. But even then, like, how much money are they putting aside for his future, and how much is it going?
So
towards
the
them
one,
buying a
the Ruby
Bentley?
Frankie person I'm talking about, after that happened, Utah, like they have a law where they have to allocate a portion to the children's future. I don't know what that portion is percentage wise, and I don't know how much she's even hiding. But like in the documentary, she was making like $100K a month.
Damn.
Like it was wild.
But even if you look at that, right? Even if they have to allocate a portion of the income,
Yeah.
right? Somebody that young in middle school.
Oh, also they can when the minors when they grow up, they can remove everything. They have the right to ask the parents to remove it, like by law.
That's fine.
Yeah.
But like what I was saying, like middle schoolers their minds are very malleable.
Yeah.
Right. So you can convince them to do anything, right? Just because you're financially compensating them, like I was saying in Illinois, or even Simmer was saying 15% in California.
Yeah.
Just because you're doing that doesn't make it right.
Yeah.
No.
If you're gonna pay them, right? They have no way of saying like, I don't want to do this. Stop doing this. That's what this girl's doing, and her mom keeps doing it.
And it's not that hard to influence a random kid. Your own kid, you can tell them to think a certain way. It's not that hard.
In this specific article, this girl, apparently her mom will blur out and mute the voices of her family members and like relatives and stuff, but her voice she won't. She keeps running.
See, that's so weird.
Because that's what she probably thinks is getting the views.
For your 300 subs. Yeah. Call it a day.
Like, how many views can you possibly get? How much money are you going to make off of 300 subs? 15 cents?
I think she's thinking she's starting somewhere. But I just feel like your kid's saying no. Like, if your kid's down, do it.
Yeah.
But your kid's saying no.
Bottom line.
Even if your kid is down, you're the parent.
Okay, for sure.
Right? Like, how do you feel about child stars? Right? Would you
it's
ever...
all weird. Like, look at the documentaries that come out. It's
right? So if you know all of that, right? Even if you see somebody like, what's a Home Alone kid's name? Macaulay
Culkin.
Yeah. Macaulay. But yeah. Like, not anyone who's been a child star, a lot of them are a little weird.
Yeah, even outside of this internet stuff,
for sure.
All these child stars have
Singers,
problems.
all of them.
Yeah, singers.
Bieber, look at that. What the hell's going on there?
Like, nobody's ever like comes out of it and they're like some superstar unscathed. Rarely. Nothing happened to them, right? Like, it's rare, right? So if you know that that's where it's gonna go, why are you already doing that to your kid to begin with, right?
Money.
Yeah. As a parent, to me, like, I would stay away from all of that. There's no point. Why are you even going to get your kid involved in all that?
I debated even like taking our daughter's pictures off Instagram and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, just, but
a lot of people do.
Some people, like, you put your kid in like acting school. Why? Because you want them to grow up and be an actor. Like, there's a line.
There's that gray area. The kid loves doing it. The kid wants to do it. But then at some point, a little bit
push your kid. Like, think about even like athletes
with anything.
Yeah.
Okay, but my take on athletes is also different. It's a competitive sport. You're not publicizing the kid, and if the kid becomes talented enough, he's going to start garnering scholarships and stuff. Right? It's for the kid's life.
Yeah.
Right.
What if the kid doesn't want to do it, and you're forcing them to like run at 3 a.m. and be really like?
Well, but then you're a crazy person, right? But like, if you see some sort of quality in your kid, right? And you see that your kid's, let's just say, an an extraordinary swimmer, right? Or extraordinary at basketball, or whatever the sport is, right?
God-given.
Like, you see it, and like people around you are like, this kid is skilled.
Yeah.
Right? I think a little bit it is your obligation to push that button and be like, okay, let's see.
Yeah.
I agree with you, but that's sports. Like, what if it's acting? What if you're like,
acting is different. That's what I'm saying. Acting and singing, to me, is completely different. How I would treat those, even if your kid's a good actor
or singer,
I think you prep them for life, right? And you let them hone those skills. But you wait till they're older. What do you want them acting in high school movies? Like, you want them playing high school kids? Like, what do you want them to do? You want them to play kids? You want them to be child stars? That's your main goal for your kid?
No, but think about movies you watch. Like, there's just gonna be no kids in any movies anymore.
I mean, I'm saying me personally.
Yeah.
If my kid is even good at acting, right, I'm gonna prep them for acting for when they're older, right? So I'm gonna put them in all the necessary schools, get them all the necessary teachers or whoever's going to teach them certain things, or give them vocal lessons if there's, or piano or whatever they're into, music or whatever, right? Push those buttons, gear them for life, right? Why are you going to publicize? That's where I have the problem with it, right? Like, I'm not going to publicize my kid. I'm not trying to make money off my kid right now.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to do any of that. Even if I'm like, hey, listen, 100% of this is going to go to you when you're 18,
for sure.
But today I'm going to use it for my escort.
Yeah.
No.
It's really weird. And even like at urgent care, like, she's making a video of her at urgent care. That's weird.
Yeah, like, you're going to, even vloggers in general.
Yeah.
Like, back in the day, the way vloggers used to be was like, we're just going to get something to eat, and they'd go to a fast food restaurant, grab something, and they would do. Now there's like highly skilled vloggers, right? And the action cuts, and these people are in this country, that country, doing this, doing that. You can't even compete with them, right?
No.
So this urgent care lady going and picking up her kid from school and like doing whatever, that's not gonna. What kind of views are you possibly gonna garner?
No.
Right? Like, now people might watch to see what the
exactly. She might have got some views out of this article.
Yeah. Other than that, like, I don't know.
Kid tells you to stop, you should stop.
Why they revealed who it is?
They hide it in the article, but you can find it in the Reddit forum.
Yeah, it's probably on the forum.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I guess that's enough about child stars. Let's move on to Stephen A versus LeBron. So I thought this thing was over, but apparently not, right? So LeBron went on the Pat McAfee show, and this is what he had to say.
He's like on a Taylor Swift tour run right now.
Oh yeah, we're watching it.
Yep.
We're all seeing it.
Oh yeah,
you're seeing it as well.
He literally. It started off with, I didn't want to address it.
Yeah, sure.
I didn't want to address it. I wasn't going to address it, but since the video came out, I feel the need to address it.
Yeah, we're viral.
Are you kidding me? If there's one person that couldn't wait to the video to drop so you can address it, it's your ass. Like seriously, it's and like another, he completely like missed the whole point. The whole point. Never would I ever not allow people to talk about the sport, criticize players about what they do on the court. That is your job, to criticize or to, be in a position where, okay, if a guy's not performing, that is all part of the game. That's all part of the game. But when you take it and you get personal with it, it's my job to not only protect my damn household, but protect the players.
Well, he's protecting the players. Here's a clip of Stephen A. saying he would have swung on LeBron.
Man put his hands on me, I would have immediately swung on him. Immediately.
Oh my God.
That's on LeBron's Instagram.
Yeah. Okay, to be fair, he does continue to say that LeBron would have kicked his ass, right? And he only said that he would have swung at him, but he's saying I would have got my ass kicked, but it's not like I would have just
as a man type thing?
like I would have swung on him. Right?
Oh, okay. I didn't know all that.
Yeah, but like he wasn't saying that he would have KO'd LeBron or anything.
Because that's a David versus Goliath situation.
100%.
He shouldn't be saying.
He also goes on to explain in that podcast that he had a torn rotator cuff, and that's why he was punching the mitts that way. That's not how he really punches. He's not like that now. Right?
Yeah, how did LeBron even get that video?
It's on the internet.
He put it on.
Like I've seen that's an old video.
Yeah,
he was recovering from his injury or whatever.
Yeah, but maybe why would you record that and put that on?
Yeah.
That's embarrassing as hell.
Yeah.
Right? But yeah, here's a clip of then Stephen A. responding to the McAfee comments on First Take.
Last time I checked, Bronny James is a professional basketball player. LeBron James went on national television yesterday and lied. He said that I have no problem with you talking about the game. What did I say about Bronny James other than at the time he wasn't ready? That was it. I said nothing else. This man is in his feelings. I wonder why. Could it be because I don't believe you're the GOAT? Because I'll never believe you're the GOAT? Because I have you number 2 at all times? Because one thing matters to him and one thing only, and that's him being recognized as the greatest of all times. Well, you're not in my book. That belongs to Michael Jordan. He just wants to say what he said like he did on courtside and then depart, but looks right up to the camera that's behind us that I never saw, who was filming it all along. The man orchestrates stuff. The man will smile in your face, and he's got something behind his back, ready to stab you in it. It's who he has been. It's who I have known him to be. It's why he doesn't like me, because he knows I know it, and it's why I certainly don't like him. But the day he came up to me was the day my new contract was announced. So he knows, like everybody else, it's going to be a little while before I go away. I was here before
he reminds
he
me of Cat
got here in
Williams.
2003.
He's giving me Cat Williams
In all
energy.
likelihood, I'm going to be here when he's gone. You got to deal with that, bro.
Damn.
So all of that's a lot to unpack.
Yeah, that was like a 20-minute rant. We chopped it up. A lot of things there. He assassinated his character too, right? He said he orchestrates things. That was pretty wild.
And that is wild. Listen, Stephen A. probably has some insight on
For sure he does.
here, right?
Yeah.
Because he's been around NBA locker rooms for decades now, right? So he probably sees things that annoy people about LeBron, or he hears things or whatever. But he doesn't really talk like that ever. But like, I'll start with LeBron going on the Pat McAfee show.
Yeah,
he didn't do that like not on purpose, right? Pat McAfee is a direct competitor of StephenASmith, right? When Stephen A was up for that, for this, before he got this $100 million deal, McAfee got a massive deal, right? And everyone was talking about, is McAfee the new face of ESPN, right? Is Stephen A on the way out, right? And then you have
LeBron doesn't really do podcasts. Right?
There's also that.
He's never done it.
He doesn't do
I've
them.
never seen him act in this way.
And then the weird thing is, like, even Shannon Sharp, right, talks pro LeBron all the time.
That's all he
he's
does,
also
yeah.
Stephen A's friend, right? But you could make the case, like, if this guy's going to go on a podcast, he could have gone on Shannon Sharp's podcast.
Yeah. Maybe.
Right? No, he's not going to do that because he's Stephen A's friend also, right? But, like, and then, I mean, I look at a little bit like, okay, you see what he did with how he switched up on Drake, Kendrick real quick, right? Like, it kind of makes you think this guy will switch up on anyone, right? Like, because even Brian Windhorst, he brings him up in this interview. He's like, the guy thinks he's my best friend.
Acting like he's my
Brian Windhorst is this guy that's been covering LeBron since he was in high school, right? And he's been covering him in Cleveland. He covered him in Miami. He covers him now. Right, and he basically is probably one of the only,
like a good light.
Yeah, he's
predominantly.
He predominantly argues for LeBron.
Yeah,
he's like you can tell his bias is more LeBron than not. Right, and obviously you have to be a little bit objective as a journalist, right, or as a sports commentator. But even him, it's because like he claims that he's my best friend. Right, or he's saying something along those lines. I'm paraphrasing here. But even that, right? Like, why are you going to go after Brian Windhorst?
Right?
What the hell does he have to do with it?
A guy that was pretty supportive of your whole career too, right?
Yeah, like what did he do to you, right?
Yeah. So then when I look at that, like Stephen A's claims of like how he's shady and he says one thing and he does one thing, well, the only conclusion that, the only reference I can draw, is this Drake Kendrick stuff.
Yeah.
Right? You have Drake, who's pretty much, these guys are like really close, they're close friends for a decade or so, right? And then as soon as this guy goes to LA because he's around Kendrick and LA rap and LA culture and all that, you immediately, when a beef breaks out, switch up like this?
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's painting a picture.
I mean, well, if you want to get a little bit conspiracy theory, right? He's, in a way, he's kind of setting up this army of cronies to like be in his corner. Like the new media, right? You got Draymond, and then maybe he's going on the McAfee show to get him in his corner. Because if you think of it, this new age of kids, they're not even really going to know who Jordan was. Right? LeBron's their Jordan. That's all they know. So he's on his way out. He's never done media. Right? And on his way out, he's building up like this whole thing where he's trying to prop himself up. And then he's got guys like Draymond or other podcasters. Even Paul Pierce and KG, they're coming around on it. Like, how much beef did Paul Pierce have with this guy during his career? Now he's kind of shifting. He's like, LeBron's one of the greatest. Like, things that he never said before.
Well, I don't think you can deny that LeBron's one of the greatest of all time.
No, you have to be stupid.
Right? But I do feel like I've always been, I was a massive LeBron fan, right? But like lately I've been going the other way because of shit like this. Right? Like even laughing at like Stephen A, like I know you guys are having a back and forth, but the dude's 57 years old. Right? He's almost 60. You're not gonna fight him.
And now you made an enemy for life.
Yeah, and even Stephen A is acting a little bit out of pocket too, right? Like it's not like you can just give him fully a pass, right? Like if he's saying LeBron says shady things, right? None of that's like 100% factual. That's opinion based, right? A little bit, you're kind of, I don't know, saying this, it's gonna be argued. Right? He's gonna say it right back,
for sure,
right? But LeBron even like going to him on the sideline saying all of this, right? And then I think LeBron got more pissed off when this guy went on Gil's Arena and he was like, I don't know what that was. He's wearing a black shirt with a gold chain. I don't know why he did that. And he was
Taylor Swift tour.
But it wasn't a Taylor Swift tour. Taylor Swift tours worldwide, right? He went to one podcast, from what I know, and then talked on his own podcast.
What does he mean by Taylor Swift tour? Like he's doing it again and again?
Yeah, like he keeps
talking about
it. Yeah. But he's like that's the only podcast he went on.
He might have went on some more.
No, I think
he has his own too.
Yeah, he went on his own. He talked about First Take, and then he went on this one podcast.
Yeah,
it's equivalent to all the stupid shit LeBron did with this thing.
Yeah, right? He went on a couple.
Yeah, didn't LeBron do the same thing? He's talking about it, and then that just gives Steven more stuff to talk about because he's talking about it.
It's fun to watch though.
They should just hash it out. It's so dumb.
It is dumb, but I do think this is my own personal opinion, right?
Yeah.
I think it's always bothered LeBron that people don't, whenever it comes to the GOAT debate, like how StephenASmith was saying, I think there's certain people that won't just be like, LeBron's the greatest of all time.
For sure, yeah.
They'll always say he's in the conversation.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I think that annoys him.
Yeah.
Right? Because amongst his peers, he feels like they all feel like he's the king.
Yeah.
And he's the greatest
Probably a
of all
bunch of
time.
yes men.
Right? Whereas like in basketball enthusiasts, they'll always be like, he's not Jordan.
Yeah.
Right? And some people even be like, he's not Kobe.
Yeah.
Right? But I think that like for somebody who holds a record for the most points scored in the NBA, for somebody who's been to 11 NBA finals, right? For somebody who's won 4 chips,
Hard
right?
pill to swallow, right?
Yeah. If nobody can stop you, you're 40 years old, you're still playing at a high level, right? And you're still competing for a championship today.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know. Because like even in the NBA right now, LeBron could be argued that he's a top 10 player in the NBA right now.
For sure.
Right?
Even right now at this age.
At age 40.
Yeah.
Right? So I think a little bit of that is, and if you look at the person who is not anti, but will always be like he's not Jordan. Stephen A is one of those guys.
Yeah.
Skip Bayless was, but Skip Bayless is out now.
Well, Skip Bayless made a career off talking smack about
talking shit about LeBron. Stephen A gives LeBron his flowers.
He does, yeah. But maybe he's just fed up with that at this point. I don't know entirely what it is, but like he was saying, I think this guy does things with purpose, and I think it's tactical. Like
what?
I think he's trying to set up favor with the media.
Maybe, but
newer media.
I think it's going to work in reverse, right? Because I think what you're doing there is that like if you've had a whole career without any hiccups really, right? And he decides to bring his son into the NBA, right? And he, I don't know what the conversations were, but Bronny gets picked 55th overall to the team that LeBron plays for.
Yeah.
Right? Fair enough. You want to judge his basketball, you're judging his basketball.
Yeah.
Right. But I think what he got annoyed with there and why he's going on all of this is because he started talking about him as a father. That's a wrong decision for doing that. Now you're putting Bronny in the limelight or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. And it's not good for your kid or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. And then off of that, you're obviously going to judge a kid's stats and like expand on that a little bit, right? So if you're going to be like that, obviously any father is going to, like, it's easy to be like, hey, hold your composure. But any father at some point is be like, bro, stop talking about my kid.
Yeah.
Even if you have every right to or whatever, the dad in you is going to be like, hey, cut that out. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Right? But I feel like if you're LeBron, you should know that you can't. You're LeBron.
Exactly.
You're not just anybody.
Usually he does that. He usually takes the high road. It's the first time that he's not doing that.
So then, I don't know.
I think it's for a reason.
I don't know if this Pat McAfee show thing needed to happen.
Yeah.
Right? He just further escalated for no reason.
You just gave him more talking points. He's going to talk about it more.
He is. And I don't know what the discourse is online or what everyone is saying about this, but for me, I lean more towards Stephen A's side.
Now. I kind of always have.
Yeah.
Because your son is playing.
Yeah.
And he's talking about him.
Yeah.
If he wasn't playing and talking about him, nobody would be on Stephen A's side.
But you're saying he also said that as a father, he shouldn't have brought his son.
Yeah.
Like, because a lot of people believe that he did.
No, that's fine. But that's going to strike a nerve.
Yeah.
Like, you're not talking about his stats at that point.
Yeah.
I guess,
Yeah,
that's fair.
That
So
is making
I
it
can
personal.
see
Yeah, you're right.
LeBron's
You're right.
Mm-hmm.
He's making it personal there 100%. But it's also, it's not like he's talking about your other kid who doesn't play basketball or anyone else.
They both play basketball.
Right? No, like who doesn't play in the NBA.
Yeah.
Right? Like Bryce is in the NBA, right? He's not talking about them. He's only talking about whoever's in the NBA.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, you got to see those things coming. Right? Like, if you're going to do any of that, like,
And
you
you've
know
also
that.
been playing for so long, you know how media works. You should see that.
Yeah.
He's been so good with it. This is just new.
But like I will say, like, to what you were saying, how he's trying to get the media on his side or whatever, it does seem like there's this overwhelming support for LeBron right now, especially by the players. Like they're not even looking at it objectively. Like I remember at a point Draymond and Stephen A were kind of close when he was trying to get into the media thing, but then Stephen A didn't back him up on when all that stuff played out with, I think it was Jordan Poole or whatever.
Yeah.
And then
the punch.
Yeah, and then I think he took offense to that, and then now he's not coming to Stephen A's back whatsoever, or looking at it objectively or whatever, right? So I mean, you see both sides of it, but like I don't know, you don't expect LeBron to be doing shit like this
for sure.
And I think it's kind of petty to go on Pat McAfee show and do this.
Yeah.
To me, it makes LeBron look bad.
Do you think they'll eventually just make up?
I don't think so.
Did you see that clip? We have an AI clip.
Brother, let me apologize to you.
Maybe this is where
if
they're
I
headed.
hurt you
Oh my God! Look at StephenASmith.
that we haven't been together. And God is good to bring us back together. Am I right?
This AI stuff's crazy.
I know, man.
That's Magic and
It hurt
thing,
me
right?
too.
It's Magic and
Isaiah Thomas.
yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll end up here. Man. 20 years from now, just hug it up.
Nah, man. I mean, it's not like they played together or anything.
It's so funny, LeBron's face on Magic's body.
But yeah, talking about GOATs, who would be on your Mount Rushmore?
Mount Rushmore? Okay. So I thought about this a lot. I don't know if it's popular or people will agree with me, but mine for me, I think I'm solidified on these four. I got Jordan, Kobe.
In order?
No, it's not in order. That's the thing about Mount Rushmore. It doesn't
You
have
don't
to
need
be.
to put them in order.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Right?
I don't know. You can put them in order.
Okay, I got Jordan, not in order. Jordan, Kobe, Braun, Steph.
Steph?
Yeah.
Hey, what's wrong with Steph?
Okay,
I think Steph doesn't get any credit, man.
Okay, he doesn't, right? But Steph is what?
That's the one everyone has a problem with.
He has 4 rings, right?
Yeah.
And he's one-time Finals MVP? 2.
Okay, who are yours?
Should have been more.
Yeah. For me,
Yeah.
I would put in this order: Jordan, LeBron, Kareem, Kobe. Right? And obviously we're leaving out
Kareem would be the 5th.
Bill Russell, Magic, Tim
lot
Duncan,
of names.
Shaq.
Yeah.
Right? I
Tim
didn't
Duncan.
even mention Steph. But to me,
Steph's on my Mount Rushmore.
I mean, if it could be if you think he's your favorite player, right? But
Yeah.
if you're going to talk about accolades, like I could see if you're going to have a recency bias for sure, because if you're going to say significance,
Yeah.
sure.
I think he changed how the game's played.
Yeah.
Especially now. This is the Steph era, just shooting from half court. Like
It is.
Full court even.
Huh?
Full court even.
Did you see
He has
Jokic?
changed. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like he has changed how the NBA is played because
Maybe in a bad way. People don't like it.
What?
All this shooting.
No, I don't think it's in a bad way. But I think like if you're gonna say significance, sure, right? But if you're gonna say greatest of all time and Mount Rushmore, that's usually the greatest of all time. I don't know if I put Steph there.
What
I know
if he wins this year?
if he wins this year and he gets Finals MVP,
Does that
I
get
don't
him
know if
closer
I-
to the mountain at least?
I think that'll put him in the top 10.
He's not even in your top 10? I think he
Is
should
it
be in
fair to do
everyone's
it
top
like
10.
old and new players? Like I feel like,
Like people always say it's not.
yeah.
Right? But like if you wanna go and like you wanna look at like pull up Steph's stats, right? Like if you want to compare him to LeBron, right? LeBron is the 4-time Finals MVP, 13-time All-Star, 13-time NBA first team, 20-time All-Star, 5 all-defensive first team, right? And then you have Jordan. Jordan is 6 Finals MVPs. We all know 5 MVPs, 6 titles, right?
Yeah.
Kareem, who you left out, right, has 6 titles, 2 Finals MVPs, 6 MVPs, 19 All-Stars, 5 all-time first defensive teams.
Yeah,
right.
so Steph has 4 championships, Finals MVP,
1,
2 MVPs,
yeah,
and 11 All-Stars.
yeah,
Then the rest don't really matter. He's got a gold medal, just 1.
yeah. So then I feel like you can compare him to Magic, right? But like to me,
3-point record.
most people wouldn't put Kobe on their Mount Rushmore, right?
Yeah.
I feel like they started doing it now.
Yeah.
But Kobe, 5 titles, 2 Finals MVPs, right? I feel like his resume is more comparable to Steph's.
Yeah.
A little bit, right? Like if Steph gets 1 more chip and 1 more Finals MVP, he would have 2 Finals MVPs and 5 titles, right? That's similar to Kobe, right? So then, yes, the argument can definitely be made.
For me, the 4 of them is just dominance. I think they all dominated the league. And they took over the league for their short little stints. They dominated the league.
They did, but then if you're going to talk about dominance, you're going to leave Shaq off the list?
Well, yeah, there's a lot of names. There's only 4 people on the mountain. Right? I don't know. It's my list.
Yeah. I mean, let us know whose list you guys agree
Bill
with.
Russell. Just quickly did a Google.
11 championships.
11 championships. Yeah, Bill Russell played back in the day.
Yeah,
Right.
imagine.
Kareem Abdul, like, you're picking a guy from back in the day.
old.
He's before him. Even.
Yeah. It's a
Well,
way.
that's what I'm saying. It should be by, like, era.
Okay, I get your argument,
Yeah.
right?
LeBron's in every era. He never quits.
No, okay. To me, I feel like you can compare all these guys, and if you are going to take into account that basketball is like an evolution, like I don't know if you saw in the same Pat McAfee interview, LeBron goes on to go, Giannis would score 250 points.
Yeah.
I don't think Giannis is going to score 250 points.
Yeah.
It's also not taking into account that like you only get to do what you're doing because of people that paved the
way.
path
Yeah.
right, for you.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's why like a lot of when he does that kind of shit, like I get it. You're trying to fight against older players, but there is this thing that's about respect, right? The same way, I'm not saying that these people are his father, but the same way you would respect a older sibling, a father, a grandfather, right? Or somebody, a mentor or somebody you look up to, right? If somebody's paving the way for you, you don't just be like, I would have done this without him. I'm better. You don't do that shit.
Yeah.
Right. So like that, I feel like it paints LeBron in a bad light. Right.
Yeah.
Personally,
I think it's all tactical. This whole thing, all of it, all this media negativity and everything.
Okay. So that's it for the stories. Let's move on to off topic.
The first story we have is a student at Tufts University.
Okay.
Okay, so her name is Rumeyza. She's a PhD student at Tufts University in Boston, and she has a master's degree from Columbia. So she's originally from Turkey and was studying in the States with a visa, on a student visa, but her visa was terminated over alleged support of Hamas, according to the Department of Homeland Security. And because of this, her visa was terminated. She was apprehended by plainclothes ICE agents with masks on in the middle of the day on a Boston street. They took her phone and they handcuffed her on the spot. And just recently, I guess, because of the Trump administration with their immigration crackdown, they've been targeting a lot of foreign students involved in like anti-Israel, which she was kind of alleged as. So this is a video of the actual arrest, which went viral. So he just like pulled up on her.
It's like a sting operation, I guess.
And first one guy came, then like so many other people came. They all surrounded her.
So they're like undercover.
So what's the link that she has to Hamas?
So like the only thing that there was even publicized was she was a co-author on a paper that they wrote for their college, and it was something about like the encouraging the university to divest in Israel companies.
Okay.
And so because of that, like she was labeled as like anti-Israel.
Okay, so she wasn't out like protesting, right? Actively?
Not that there was any like actual evidence of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so all these people, they just like, they have masks on, they like handcuffed her, and then they just like took her away. And now there's like people in Boston that are like protesting because of her arrest.
So she got deported?
So they wanted to deport her. That's the reason why they arrested her. But a federal judge blocked the Trump administration's attempt to deport her.
Yeah, so this is what happens when you give somebody like sweeping powers, right?
Yeah, like that
ICE.
is so scary how they just like ran up on her like that.
Well, that happens a lot.
Does it?
Yeah. When with these types of cases, when they're getting
like ICE,
like because you can't just knock on their door; they're not going to be there, right? You got to sneak up on them to get them. But
so is it kind of like you got served? Like they have to say, "This is my name."
No, Simran, they're arresting her. Right? They don't have to.
He's like, why aren't they nicer?
They're just doing it secretly because she probably knows too, to some extent, that this could happen. So they have to do it in secret. Because if they just ring your doorbell, you're gonna be like, "Oh, there's ice outside. I'm not gonna just open it and get arrested, right?"
Yeah.
So,
but I guess because this was on the street, there's this CCTV footage of it. There's like people recorded it. It was really aggressive, and it like just went viral.
Yeah, I don't think they would have, if they had to do it out in the open like that.
I feel like, to play devil's advocate here, we don't know the full story.
We don't,
right? Like, and I it's not one of those where I want to be like, because if she's a victim and you just don't believe what she's saying, right? Did she say anything about this or no?
They just took her away. I think
they don't know anything about that.
Nonsense.
Yeah, I feel like we don't really know what they had on her.
Yeah.
Because if they haven't said what they had on her, right, and people are just protesting, then we don't know.
Yeah.
Right, what's going on, right? But on the flip side of it, out of everyone, you can target a PhD student.
Yeah.
I don't know,
There
right?
might be other people higher on that list, or maybe there should be.
But sometimes, like, I'm not trying to be pro-Trump here or pro-ICE, right? Because I do think that, like, yes, even in the States, right, even though we're not American, I do think that if there's illegal criminals, you should deport them. But I do think separating families is wrong.
Yeah.
Right? Like, because everyone has a dream, right? And if somebody like her, she's a PhD student,
like,
she's studying, right? She's trying to become something, right? That's what I'm saying. If everything is as it seems, then man, that's kind of crazy, right? That you're arresting her, right?
Yeah.
But if there is something where we don't know if she had any kind of ties with Hamas, or if she's speaking, or I don't know what else is happening.
I read something Donald Trump was saying, that he just deems people as terrorist extremists without any basis other than what country they're from. I don't know if it's real. It could be alleged, but I read an article about that he's trying to really crack down on it. But how could you, like, look at the culture of America, look at the culture of Canada, like, how could you do something like that?
What do you mean?
You have people from so many different countries that live here and that live there, and you're gonna like deem people quote unquote terrorists because they're from a Middle East country. That's
a slippery slope, right? And I feel like when he was
she looks like she was targeted. She's wearing a hijab.
Well, it wasn't just somebody random they picked up, right? They knew what she looked like, so they went to her specifically and they grabbed her, right? That means they know her whole profile, right? It's ICE. It's a government agency. They know exactly who she is, right? So they picked her up on purpose. It wasn't just like a random person wearing a hijab. They're like, all right, we're going to pick her up.
Well, it's because of her immigration status too, right?
Yeah.
She wasn't permanent residence or what?
She wasn't. Was the visa expired or was it?
Terminated it.
They terminated it because they think that she's linked to Hamas, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sure she knew that it was terminated, right? They would tell her.
I don't know how.
I would assume so. But even those guys, they're getting shit on too. The cops, they're just doing their job. They've been told what to do. It's not like you can stop. Your manager tells you to go do something. You're not going to be like, I'm not doing that.
Instead of just like raw reacting to it and being like, everyone's wrong in this situation, she's right. Like, until like more comes out, you can't definitively say
we need the car.
Yeah, for sure. By just looking at it, that was my reaction to it. Yeah.
Like, we don't know what exactly happened there.
What she said, what she's done, where she's been, we don't know.
But to your point, when you were talking about like, if you can't doing that's a little bit of a slippery slope, right? Like just revoking anyone's visa or whatever. He was talking about revoking birthright citizenship.
Yeah. That was crazy. We talked about that, right?
Yeah. Which to me, like, even if you look at Canada, I feel like something that people aren't talking about really here, even during this election cycle, is that I've always felt like freedom of speech should be absolute in Canada.
For sure.
It's always annoyed me a little bit that it's not.
The way that it is, yeah.
Right? Because you can technically, you have freedom of speech here, but if the government doesn't like what you say, they can adjust that a little bit and it goes away.
Yeah.
Right? So you really don't have it, right? Which is what happens in the UK.
Yeah.
Right? Or in Germany, like, they can knock on your door and be like, hey, what'd you say?
Yeah.
Right?
For sure.
And like, for a country like Canada, and then there's also what the World Economic Forum and everything that happens with that.
Yeah.
Right? How Mark Carney's a World Economic Forum guy. Their top things on their agenda recently has been misinformation and disinformation, right?
Polyev said he's going to ban all his ministers from attending.
right? So then if you look at that, like that's some stuff that's some scary stuff. Censorship and freedom of speech and all that. But like it has nothing to do with this girl. But yeah, man, hopefully she has no ties to Hamas and she can, I don't know, somehow get out of this situation.
Hopefully.
Next story is the Canadian true crime story.
Okay.
Okay, so this is a story that happened in Canada, in Mississauga, Ontario. So it's from 2003. So 2 teenage girls murdered their mother by drowning her in a bathtub.
Oh my God.
So the mom was like an alcoholic and she was very neglectful of her kids, and there was insurance money involved if she died, but it was only $200,000 and they killed her. They wanted to make it look like an accident. So basically they like got her drunk. They gave her like Tylenol 3 pills, and then they put her in the bathtub. Then the older daughter just like held her underwater until like she
This is all
drowned.
confirmed, all this?
Yeah, this happened in 2003. And then they got away with it too. Like for 11 months, like it was ruled an accident. And then the younger daughter told like one of her male friends at a party that like they killed her. And then he went and told the police.
No.
And then in 2006, there was a trial and they were sentenced to first-degree murder, but with only 10 years in prison, which is like the maximum youth sentence for that. And so it was
Wait, how old are these girls?
she was like 15, 16.
It's crazy.
Yeah, there was like a lot of like public, when it came out, like publicization around it. There was even a movie made about it in 2014 called Perfect Sisters. So like it was only 10 years, so they're out now. The point, I guess, is like for like youth sentences, like the goal is for children to be rehabilitated and have a chance at a normal life. That's why it's such a short sentence in Canada. So now like the older sister, she like went to university. She's a scientist.
Damn.
The younger sister got married. She's a mom. She graduated law school. But now she wants to be allowed to practice as a lawyer in Ontario. But to pass the bar in Ontario, people have to be required to, quote unquote, be of good character. So that they like kind of like investigate into the person's
That would
life.
be a no for her.
That's a little bit of a conundrum there.
Yeah, so that's still ongoing, like that decision. So it's just kind of like interesting, and I kind of want to know your guys' thoughts. Like, should something like that like be something that follows you around forever?
Yeah,
definitely.
You can be rehabilitated though? No?
How old were these girls? 15?
They were young, like 12, 11, like around. They were minors because they don't even release their names.
Yeah,
You don't know
they
their
don't
names,
release their
nothing.
names.
Damn.
Yeah.
What the hell?
So I do
That
think
complicates it a bit. 12?
I do
Hold on,
think
I'll find out.
I do think people can be rehabilitated. The issue is, do you put that person in a position where they argue court cases?
Right?
You've murdered somebody.
That's what I thought.
Like-
that like, yeah, you can be rehabilitated, but maybe not as a lawyer. Like maybe not that profession.
Maybe not a
something
lawyer,
else.
maybe not a judge, maybe not a doctor, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Maybe try
that's
something
the
else.
route she went. She went to school. She became a lawyer. She passed the bar. And then now she just can't work. What? How many years of her life?
But like, I feel like she must have known to some extent that it was probably going to be hard to practice law
Killed her mom
before she started this process.
Yo, but look at that girl that killed her mom, and then she went to jail for like 7
How
years.
are all these people, they're killing their moms,
What
just
girl?
thriving after?
But her mom like put her through shit. Like her mom made her think she had
Rose,
cancer.
what's her name?
I forget her name.
Oh my god.
Her mom made her believe she had cancer. She had like surgery.
Did you guys talk about
Ruby
it?
Rose or something?
No.
Isn't that a rapper, singer person? What the fuck?
It's something Rose, right?
Yeah. Gypsy
Rose.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ruby Rose.
That's the chick Drewski was dating.
Yeah, Gypsy Rose. Yeah, she killed her mom too.
No, but in this situation, they did it for insurance money.
Yeah.
Right? And then
How did they know
They
that
also
was that
said,
young?
said that she was like a bad mother, right? Alcoholic.
Yeah, she's an alcoholic.
a lot of people have
Child
bad parents,
abuse.
man. You don't kill
You don't
them,
kill them.
Yeah.
right? Like, and if you do, like, no, you don't just go about life being normal. Like, even the person you're married to, imagine if your wife tells you, right? Like, after you're married, all this shit happens, right? And she goes, by the way, I killed my mom.
Yeah.
How the fuck does that conversation
Yeah.
I'm looking at her different.
And she's a mom now. She has a son.
How?
I would just look at her and be like, she's gonna kill me one of these days.
You better act right.
I better vacuum. Or like, sleep with one eye open kind of stuff. I wouldn't be able to sleep in that house.
Yeah. How does she get married, man?
She didn't tell anyone,
She
obviously.
changed her last name like 3 times.
There you go. So she's hiding on. She should be able to pass the bar then.
Yeah,
It's
even
kinda
if she's
crazy.
doing all that, it seems like she knows.
Is it just Ontario, so every other province is okay?
I don't know actually.
I don't know.
That's a tricky one. I guess the age matters, right? I feel like if you're 16, 17, 18, something like that, you know exactly what you're doing.
I couldn't find the age. Honestly, I looked at 3 different
I
websites.
thought you were trying to
Okay.
justify why if you're 16, 17, 18, it's worse to kill your mom than it is if you're
No.
11. Is that what it is?
I'm saying if you're that old, I think the sentence should be way more than 10 years because you know pretty much what you did.
Yeah, they
But
can
if you're
try you
10,
as an adult.
If you're 10,
Right.
did it, you might just be some damaged kid. Like, I
Well,
don't know.
they're teenagers.
Yeah.
They were teenagers.
Yeah.
So if they're like 13, 14, 15 and something like that happens, you killed your own mom, right?
Depends why. She was alcoholic too. Who the hell knows? what
Yeah,
the
maybe
hell?
there's some abuse.
Yeah.
We don't know.
But still, you don't kill her.
Yeah,
Like
but
if what happened to her, to them, like what happened to Gypsy Rose, crazy.
sure, right? But if it's from the story that we know so far, from what Simmer said, right?
Yeah.
It seems like it's just some person who's just wanted some insurance money.
Yeah.
That's what that paints it as.
I don't know how you're plotting that much as a kid.
Exactly.
I was way too stupid to do something like that.
Even like the way they said it, they
I didn't even
they
think
got
that
her
way.
drunk. Like, how does that happen?
How do you get your mom?
Little kid.
Well, they know it because like she always
She was
drinks.
an alcoholic.
You just leave it right in front
Or
of
they
her.
gave her pills too.
Yeah.
They drug her.
All right.
Like
Or
they
they
did
drugged
have a pretty hard life. Like their dad abandoned them. Then like their mom remarried. The stepfather was abusive.
Yeah. Whatever.
But
She
at the end
shouldn't
of
be
the
a
day,
lawyer.
like yeah,
Yeah.
you think that it shouldn't be allowed.
Should we move on?
Yeah.
So you guys heard about the earthquake that happened in Myanmar, right?
Mm-hmm.
So 7.7 on the Richter scale, like magnitude.
Out of 10?
Out of 10.
Damn.
Yeah,
No, indeed.
that's like
Out of
severe.
I don't know, just
What did I
making
say
sure.
about laughing?
Just making sure.
So this is just some of the damage.
Oh shit.
It's crazy.
Where's Myanmar?
It's in like Southeast Asia, close
It's like
to
near
Thailand.
Thailand, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Because there was, I seen videos of tourists like in Thailand, Bangkok, and stuff, and like
Yeah, so one really big building in Bangkok. Bangkok is still 1,000 kilometers or miles away, but it felt like the aftershock of it, and
Yeah.
it tumbled a building.
1,000 miles
it
away?
tumbled a building.
Yeah, one really big building
scary.
tumbled. Yeah, and I saw this other one where people were in a hotel and like they were in the pool and the water just started
Yeah,
whooshing
that's what I
over.
saw.
Yeah.
I seen that clip.
Yeah.
Like, damn.
So 1,600 people have died here, right?
Yeah.
So
That's
far
what they're
and
saying
counting,
now,
right?
projected.
I was even reading it could end up being more than 10,000. I even read somewhere where they can end up being closer to 100,000. So they have
Yeah.
projections all over the place.
What the hell?
Yeah.
They
Pretty
also
brutal.
said the energy released was more than the bomb dropped during Hiroshima. Like the energy,
way.
yeah, the magnitude is really high.
Okay, this is crazy. This just happened too, right?
It's still kind of, I think,
It's a
the after
developing
effect.
story.
Yeah.
You don't have all the details right now, but
Yeah.
7.7 out of 10? That's crazy.
High.
out of 10, that's what got indeed.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
that's pretty high.
No, it is high.
No, I was
Like-
looking at some previous ones. So last year, Taiwan had 7.4. But only 13 people died because they have the infrastructure for it. Like they prepared for it. But then Morocco had one in 2023 that was 6.8 and 3,000 people died. Syria had one same year, 50,000 people died just because they don't have the
infrastructure.
They're building
So
it.
they
Yeah,
don't either, these guys.
not quake resistant.
Yeah.
Damn.
But yeah,
Climate change.
blame it on climate change.
That's just so scary. Like imagine the floor just under you just disappears.
We don't have to deal with that.
Yeah, we're like not on any of those plates.
We just get snow.
Although I remember feeling one. I was in grade 6 and I came home from lunch and now there was a scary movie commercial on the TV and my couch started shaking. Didn't know what it was. I ran back to school, found out after it was a minor earthquake.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Second time we had one, I was writing a exam in university and I remember thinking like, I thought our desks were attached and my desk is like shaking. So I'm like, these girls are racing so hard. I'm about to like kick her ass. And then I look up and the lights are shaking.
Oh, no.
So and our desks were individual. I just didn't.
Yeah.
I did not know we had an earthquake.
Yeah. We had, so I was in first year uni when that happened.
I didn't even know. It must have
Very
slapped through
minor.
both.
Yeah. Or Sophia's lying.
It was something else.
I don't know. Did anyone else feel any earthquakes?
Okay. We could just talk about intellectual level.
Yeah. 7.7.
7.7.
Yeah.
All right, next story. So there was this lifelong Jays fan that got kicked out of the Jays home opener.
No, I saw
This
this.
poor guy, because he was wearing that hat.
Yeah.
Canada's not for sale?
Why was this? I saw this picture.
Okay, so ballpark policy states that anything intended to draw attention to international political cause, similar events causing conflict are banned to not detract other people from experiencing, like other fans from experiencing the event. But they later apologized to him because
Jays?
team officials.
Okay.
They
Yeah.
didn't specify. And then Doug Ford called him and thanked him for his like patriotism
Oh.
because he's wearing the same hat Doug Ford was
Yeah,
wearing
yeah,
at
yeah.
the thing, and he's not saying anything against Canada.
Yeah.
Like poor guy just went to watch the home opener.
Yeah, lifelong fan.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I get it because the MAGA movement, it was polarizing in the States, right? So in the beginning when
That kind of looks like a MAGA.
Yeah, in the beginning when it started, you had a lot of people, I don't know if you guys remember, if you were wearing a MAGA hat in New York or something, a lot of people, start heckling at you and saying shit to you, right? Versus Canada is not for sale, is not the MAGA movement.
Yeah.
Right? And even the MAGA movement now, it's kind of widely accepted in the States. If you're right wing, right? It's kind of looked at as like
It's not as polarizing.
something so polarizing anymore, right? And then far from that is a country that's being attacked by Tariff, right? Whether you're left or right wing, right? Just like we talked about before, how Buy Canadian has been politicized now,
For sure.
right? The same way, Canada's not for sale is something that all Canadians agree with.
Yeah.
It's kind of like there's not a single person saying that we are for
that
sale.
was worn by Doug Ford
Yeah.
on TV.
Yeah.
Very public hat.
Yeah.
So it was unjust. Poor guy. I just wanted to watch the
I
game.
feel bad
At that guy, right? Imagine even escorting him
So
out.
they gave him like tickets to another game, but still.
That's all they did?
They apologized.
He seems like he'd be like, I'll just take it off. They're like, no, we gotta kick you out.
Yeah.
Oh no, they told him to take it off. He said no.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah.
You
And
should
they
say no.
escorted him out.
Yeah. No.
They should give him season tickets.
Maybe that's what's gonna come. Okay, that's all we have for off topic.
Okay.
Okay, let's move on to the question segment. So I thought first we can do guess the 5 highest crime cities in Canada. So this is based on the crime severity index. So
Crime severity index, so severe crimes?
Yeah.
All over Canada?
Yeah,
Just
all over
Ontario.
Canada.
Okay.
Thunder Bay?
I was thinking Hamilton.
Thunder Bay.
No, if it's severe.
Thunder Bay.
Severe
That's
crime.
your number one?
No, she's not saying yes or no.
It measures both the volume and severity of police reported crime.
Okay.
That's what this is.
Is Thunder Bay on
Tell
it?
us the 4 and then we put them in order?
No.
There's 5. Do you guys want to just guess the provinces and I can tell you the cities?
He said
Thunder Bay is not
Okay,
on it.
if it's not on it, say
Sorry.
just say no, it's not on it. Okay.
No, not Thunder Bay.
Okay, then if we get one right, just say like, yeah, that's number one,
Yeah.
or that's so. Just do that.
Okay.
Okay, then it's volume,
Yeah.
right?
Mississauga.
Toronto.
You know, surprisingly, Ontario is not on this.
Ontario's
list.
not
Top 5. Yeah.
That
I was
we're not
gonna
gonna
say
get
Surrey.
I was gonna, yeah. I
Oh,
was-
Surrey. Yeah.
No.
Something in BC. Burnaby.
Northwest Territories.
No, you see how it went with Thunder Bay?
Vancouver.
Severity.
Vancouver?
Why would Vancouver be on the list?
Boy, watch it be on the list.
It's not.
Yeah.
Okay, is this the hardest list?
Yeah, maybe you should guess provinces.
Alberta.
Yeah, that's number 5.
Newfoundland.
Red Deer, Alberta is number 5.
Red Deer. Nobody would have guessed that.
No.
So think more like
Boonies?
outskirts.
So Yukon.
Isolated.
St. John's.
And then you got,
Halifax.
Northwest Territories.
Don't even say PEI. That tiny little place.
Nova Scotia.
But maybe relative to like how big it is.
Bro, do we know what these cities are?
right? Like are they ones that
That's why
nobody's heard
second
of?
guess the provinces.
Tell us.
Yeah, just the list. She's just laughing. She's like, they're never gonna get it. I give them the top secret list.
Yeah, Saskatchewan.
Number
Saskatchewan.
Saskatchewan is number 2 and number 3. So there's 2
How are they
cities.
both?
Manitoba.
Indy.
China.
It's a province, bro. There's cities in there.
Okay,
Oh, damn.
It's North Battleford, Saskatchewan,
Okay, I'm
and
not gonna
Prince
know.
Albert, Saskatchewan.
I'll know
Okay.
the capitals.
That's 2 and 3.
2 and 3 and 5.
I thought
Yeah.
I had this thing rolling with Thunder
Okay.
Bay.
Why did you even think that?
You guys are so ridiculous, and then look at the city she named.
Oh no, I said Hamilton.
So Saskatchewan, Alberta.
Okay, guess the
I'm gonna start going down.
highest
Quebec.
crime rate province.
Quebec.
No.
Manitoba.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Because it's so big.
No, it's. I think it's because the native population. There are things.
That's why you said Thunder Bay.
Thompson,
right?
That's things
Manitoba
about brutal murder.
has a high rate of violent crime, including assault and robbery.
Okay.
Thompson, Manitoba. And then,
There's one left.
so number 4 is Winnipeg, Manitoba.
Oh, Winnipeg. Hmm.
In 2022, Thunder Bay's overall crime rate was 58.42 per 100,000 people, and its crime severity index was 103.5, ranking it 7th in Canada's for crime severity through it's still above provincial and national averages.
Didn't make.
So
the
it
top
didn't make the top 5, but it was 7. That's
Yeah.
why I said it.
That's not
We're
bad.
doing top 5.
No, but I'm saying you guys were like, why
But
Thunder
why do
Bay
you know
got-
that about
Maybe I
Thunder
know
Bay?
something.
Why do you know that?
Put Toronto. See where Toronto's at.
Toronto's not going to be in the top 7.
Too many people, right?
What, Toronto?
Yeah.
No,
There's
because it's
severe
crime
crime.
severity index, right? So
Murder.
like very severe crimes per capita is what she's kind of alluding to, I think.
Yeah.
Right? So
Okay, what's the next question?
Let's do a more lighthearted question for the next one. We'll do a blind ranking. So rank.
hold on, wait.
Yes.
In 2023, Toronto's crime rate was 286.9 offenses per 100,000 residents, making it the safest city in Canada.
Yeah. Okay.
God damn.
Dude, Toronto.
Toronto's pretty safe.
Yeah.
I just thought all the jails are here. Like that Bruce MacArthur guy. Remember that guy? No, I'm saying the wrong name.
Arthur.
MacArthur. He was killing
And
people and
property
putting them
crime
in
in Toronto was
plants.
40% higher than in New York. Doesn't make
All right,
sense.
let's go.
Okay.
Okay.
Rank the following cuisines without knowing what comes next. So what you like to eat the most.
Okay.
So the first one we'll do is Mexican.
Oh,
It's like 1 or 2 for me.
it's got to be right.
No, they're still Italian.
Italian would be 1.
Italian will
Yeah,
be
so
one.
Mexican's 2.
Two, right? Two safe.
Yeah.
Mexicans too.
We're going to kill this list.
Indian.
Japanese.
That's just sushi. I'm thinking.
Yeah.
You guys don't really like.
I don't.
I
think
like
so.
sushi.
I like sushi, but I
it's
don't know
not
any other
one.
Japanese.
No, not 1. Maybe
Nah.
3 or
Is
4.
it 4?
Four. I'm comfy at four.
4. Okay.
He's comfy. There.
I'm comfy there.
Yeah.
Indian.
Indian.
This would be 3 or 1.
You
One.
know why?
If-
Like
are
I
we
don't
waiting
want
for
to say
Italian?
1, but that's probably the only thing I could eat if I had to pick every single day of my life.
Yeah.
Italian I could do.
Every single day of your
Every
life.
single day.
Pasta and pizza.
Different types of pasta, different types of pizza.
I feel like that would.
Yeah, but like, what's healthier? Like something that you actually have to eat.
Indian
Butter chicken, obviously.
3.
No, some Indian food is very healthy.
Dal.
It could be. Are you going to eat the healthy options? How much healthy Indian food do you really eat?
Okay, let's do 3.
We'll do
Okay.
So
three.
Indian food is 3. Italian.
There you go.
Number 1.
There we go.
1. And then the last one, which would be number 5, is Chinese.
I'm not mad at that list.
I like it.
No, there are some things I would flip around.
What?
Japanese and Chinese.
Yeah.
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 It's more versatile.
Chinese?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe
Maybe.
because we don't know other than sushi.
That's the only thing I know.
We don't even know.
There might be something really
Japanese
good
food
that's
there
Japanese is just going right over our head.
And with that, it's a wrap. We'll catch you guys next week. Remember, we're not experts on anything, and you should always do your own research.
Take care, everybody.